Hello and welcome to another edition of the Schmozcast. I'm your host, Anthony, in the studio at 103.5 The Sun, WLSP LP Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, along with Chandler and Andre. How we doing, fellas?
Doing fantastic today.
Delightful.
All right, let's get things started here. We got a lot to get to today. A lot of things happened this week in the world of wrestling. But first, Andre, you had a pretty big Wednesday. There was some wrestling in Madison with some people that our friends and listeners would, of course, recognize. You want to tell us a little bit about who you saw? And then we'll talk about how the venue was set up and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I saw an event, Powerhouse Wrestling, I believe it's called Winter Warfare 17, which takes place in the Midwest, I believe. And there was a show the day before that took place in Illinois and Madison, Wisconsin on Wednesday, the 27th. There were several names that I've never heard of before that I saw. A few local guys, but there were some big name guys there too. There was Robbie E from TNA fame. I don't know if you remember him or not, but he was a former tag team champion. Him and Robbie T. Robbie E was the smaller of the two, but he was impressive. He was impressive there. There was also the Sandman and the Godfather and Road Warrior Animal who were there and did some promos but didn't perform. And the best part of the night for me was seeing Sabu, who did perform, and he even had Super Genie with him. And I'm trying to think if there were any other big names that showed up that nope, the rest were local or indie guys. As well as their champion at the time. Oh, Adam Rose. I forgot about that. Adam Rose was there. And then their champion, the Powerhouse champion at the time was, I forget his name, but we had seen him in Milwaukee.
Mr. Swagnificent. Yes. Collective favorite of the Schmozcast.
There you go. I don't know who you're talking about.
The guy that came out to Biggie Small's Player Hater when we went to Milwaukee, when we went and saw
Brew City Wrestling.
Brew City at Summerfest.
Oh.
Remember the guy that came out to Biggie Small's Player?
The guy who insulted the fella in the wheelchair in the front row?
Yes.
No,
that was the Pope guy.
Okay.
That was a different guy.
Okay.
But
less of a jerk, I'm guessing, than the guy who insulted the man who told the guy in the front row in the wheelchair that he was going to allow him to walk today.
Yep.
Mr. Swagnificent is the one that kind of acts like Tron from
Oh my God. Thank you so much.
He laughed like that.
That's hilarious.
Show, it was great. He defended the title against Adam Rose in a fairly decent match, actually.
Okay, so Adam Rose did wrestle and was there. I saw pictures of him. He was like signing different stuff. I knew some other people who went with their kids. But I want to know a little bit more about the Turner Hall setup. So I've been there. My mom has played volleyball there. There's a few different ways they could have set it up, but they actually put it in the banquet hall, which is a pretty big room, but I guess I wasn't sure, but I could tell, at least from the Snapchats of Ansrud, who you were with, like where the bar was on the edge. So, yeah, not that bar. So tell us a little bit about the setup. So I imagine you walked to your right to get into like what they considered the main venue.
Yep. So if you walk in through the main
foyer hallway
doorway and you're looking, the ring is kind of to the right, and then right to the left of that is the bar, and right behind the bar is where the entrances were. There was tape or curtained off, and we sat right where the entrances were. One side of the ring, the ceiling was a little low, so they didn't.
And that's what I worried about in there.
They didn't do many spots around that area as far as going to middle rope or what have you. There wasn't a lot of high spots to begin with. There was one, I can't remember who it was. It was one of the indie guys that did do a nice not suicide dive, but he jumped over the top rope, but it was kind of near that side, so it was he jumped very low so he wouldn't hit the ceiling. But it was still impressive. There was a couple impressive bumps. But it was definitely an indie show. It wasn't 5-star wrestling, but it was fun and entertaining. So I'm glad I went.
Yeah, and I think especially for a birthday present, man, that was pretty cool. I think, and if me and Chandler could have been there, I think we would have been there. And there was a lot of cool people there. Okay, so that's how the setup was. When you say it wasn't 5-star wrestling and it was an indie show, can you tell us a little bit about what you mean by, I guess like the dichotomy between those two types of wrestling or promotions? This one wasn't about mat classics, if you will. It's
right.
about popping the crowd, right? I mean,
because guys like
you want people to come back.
Sabu, he's 53. He's a legend, so I don't want to sound like I'm talking bad about him because I'm not. I love Sabu. He's a legend, and he's the main reason why I went and who I was most looking forward to, and I was thoroughly happy and impressed by him. But he moved around like a 53-year-old that wrestled for ECW, so he wasn't jumping over. He wasn't doing his old school spots where he was jumping off chairs into the top rope. He was throwing a lot of chairs and doing a lot of brawling. But I guess that's what I mean, because I don't want to disparage any of them. Because there was a few guys that I was really impressed with some of the things they did, because I wasn't expecting, Shawn Michaels or New Japan or anything like that. But I guess that's the best way to describe it in the sense that you're not going to see a lot of chain wrestling. You're not going to see a lot of, as you say, mat classics. There was more of entertainment factor. There was more Sandman coming out with the beers and the kendo sticks.
I didn't quite realize it was him until I saw some videos and photos that you were with your cousin Anzrud, who's a friend of the show, and so I saw like from that vantage point, and it was him versus Sabu, right? Sandman versus Sabu?
Sandman didn't wrestle.
Oh.
He just came out and
delivered
okay. It was Sabu versus... Oh, who did he wrestle? I think it was...
Because I was like, gosh, Sandman looks really good.
It was kind of a local guy. And Sabu took the loss off a ref not looking low blow situation.
Dirty sons of guns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so... And back to the Sabu thing, if I were, as we host a wrestling show, we are all about lists and fun things and this era and that era, whatever. If I were to make a list of my 10 all-time favorite wrestlers, Sabu is in my top 10. Like, that's how much I really love Sabu. When it comes to ECW guys, I love ECW, but he might be one of the only few that I would put on my top 10 all-time, my favorites, not saying the greatest wrestlers, because I don't think that Sabu likens himself to one of those wrestlers that will put on a mat classic. He is very much...
man. He did... I mean, it was a different style, but the things that he did... He was super innovative. When he would, I don't know what the moves were called because it was so long ago, but when he would put the chair in the ring, jump on the chair, jump on the top rope, jump back in the ring over the chair.
Triple jump moonsault.
Triple jump moonsault. No, and
Arabian leg press. Like his list of moves are fantastic.
And at the time when he was doing them, and even the table spots too, innovative really is the best word to describe Sabu and Sabu's career, I think. But what I'm saying is he's not, it's not Malenko Guerrero kind of chain wrestling and stuff like that. It's very much its own thing. But I'm saying, like, if you were to put the 10 best wrestlers of all time, a lot of people most people aren't going to put Sabu in theirs. For me, in terms of my favorites, Sabu gets in there. And one of the most innovative, I think, of all time. If that was the list, I think it's hard to put people or to not put Sabu on there. Don't you think?
Of being an innovator?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because
he's at least top 5 or 3.
He was hardcore before hardcore,
yes.
Right? Before it was called hardcore or extreme. That's what Sabu was. And so I give him a lot of credit, and I can't believe he's still out there doing it, man. And I know some people will say, like, oh, why is he doing that to himself? But when that's how he makes money, right? And like you said, that was the person you were most looking forward to see, and that's the person I would have been most looking forward to see, and you walked away saying, I got to see Sabu.
And the pop that he got for that small venue was probably the biggest one of the night. Godfather got a pretty big pop as well, but Sabu coming out was... biggest pop of the night, and he's the man. I love Sabu. I was so happy to see him.
Very cool.
That's great.
Tell us about Godfather.
Godfather came out. There was a match going on where the babyface was... I think that it was the end of the match and the babyface was getting beat up, or it was during the match and the heel was cheating and the ref was down, and all of a sudden his music came out. And he came out, and the guy that... He didn't get into anything physical. The guy that was... The heel saw him and ran off. And then Godfather got on the mic, and it was actually good. He hit all his lines. It's like he didn't have the whole train with him, but he did say, "Let's get aboard the whole train," and did the roll up a fatty for the pimp daddy and pimping ain't easy. The whole thing. He did his whole thing.
I was gonna ask you if pimping is easy. I was gonna ask if he told you whether or not pimping.
Well,
is
he
easy.
didn't say that. He held the mic up, and we said that,
yes.
but he said everything else. And actually, he made the save on Robbie E, and then told the people there that after the show, him and Robbie E were going to party on State Street to join him. I don't know if that actually happened or if that was just talking, but yeah, that was Godfather.
I got a
cool.
feeling that it was
a real thing.
I thought about that, like, gosh, that's a pretty big night because night or two, a lot of people are still in town. I know that was a big like travel back day, but I bet just for the time being with a lot of people back in Madison for the holidays, that they hit it pretty hard on Wednesday night, and that it was not a bad night to go out compared to a typical Wednesday night, which in Madison is still a pretty good night to go out. But
yeah, and I just want to say Robbie E looked really good. I was never a big fan of his in TNA, but
was he with DJ Zima and that whole crew? Okay, that's when I looked at the pictures.
The bromance. Like, okay, it was the bromance. Yes. It was Robbie E and the Jesse Godders, who was from I think Big Brother or something like that, and they were a tag team, the bromance, and DJ Z was like kind of like their hype man, like he was their DJ. Yeah,
literally during matches, if someone hit a big move, he'd play.
He would do the reggae air.
Funny. Yep. I thought that was so funny. That's one of the few things in TNA over the last few years that I really enjoyed. And
they were very entertaining.
Dude, and DJ Zima, like, oh, great! What a great name. I love that.
But he looked good. What I was going to say is he looked. Yeah. I never liked him, but seeing him move in person, and maybe it's because he was with some older people and younger people that are from the scene that I never heard of, that he kind of outshined everyone, but he looked really good in person. And I don't want to talk bad about anyone, but I will say this: Road Warrior Animal. I mean, Godfather, he might have not been happy to be there, but once he got into the ring, I mean, I'm not saying he was or wasn't, but Godfather, when he was in the ring, you could tell that you couldn't tell if he was not happy to be there, because he was Godfather and he was there. Road Warrior Animal, you could kind of tell that it was a paycheck for him. He was just going through the motions, and almost seemed like he took a shot at some of the guys there, which was kind of not cool.
How so?
Well, he had made a comment of like, "Oh, you wouldn't see Road Warrior." It was after the first match, and he said something to the extent of, "You wouldn't see Road Warrior Hawk and I do anything like that." But hey, it's entertainment. We're here to have fun, and that combined with the fact that he just kind of looked like he was going through the motions, and he was announced as the GM, but he came out and just said a few things and then left. So it kind of seemed like, he was there for a paycheck.
Okay, so back to the Robbie E thing. Was he the one who got a really devastating injury at one point? Like it was
I think
a
so.
neck.
I'm pretty.
We'll take a look and get back to that in a sec. So sometimes there's those wrestlers though that you don't like, but then you see them live and you kind of turn the page on them. And for me, Heath Slater and The Miz were two really big ones. I know I was with you at that house show, and I think you might have been there also. But I think you were at the same. If I'm not mistaken, it was like a June house show, typically what WWE does.
Was this when I went with my cousin and my brothers and
this
stuff?
Would have been 2014, I believe.
Rusev
June of
and
2014.
Lana were still together.
Yep,
and they were
and
there.
Bray Wyatt and John
it.
Cena was the main event. So
Totally.
So we were all there. I wasn't big on The Miz. I had liked him originally, but he kind of got stale, and I was sick of him being one of so important to WWE. And seeing him live, though, I thought he was really great. He really made me change how I felt about The Miz, and that was kind of the beginning of me deciding or seeing how good The Miz truly is. And it was in that match, I want to say he went against Adam Rose. Actually, no, it was Adam Rose against Heath Slater. Also was another match where I didn't really like Heath Slater, but he won me over with 3MB.
That was still 3MB days,
yes,
right?
Yeah, that was with 3MB days. And then Adam Rose, who I did like, I actually saw live then and wasn't that big a fan of after seeing him live. And he actually had maybe the worst air guitar I'd ever seen in my life as I hit the microphone. But can you tell us a little bit about Adam Rose or somebody else? I like, though, that you mentioned that Robbie E, you never really thought you'd be a fan of. You see him live and it changes your tune.
Adam Rose, quite the opposite for me. I didn't. He had a good match with Mr. Swagnificent, and he won the Powerhouse Championship. But he also, prior to the match, kind of seemed like he was just going through the motions and was there for a paycheck. So I mean, I kind of went away like a little less impressed with Adam Rose. I think that's that, and I was a little upset that Mr. Swagnificent lost his title that I didn't know he had until that night. And in fact, I didn't even know he was there until that night, until they introduced him. And
that's great.
The ring announcer said, "Mr. Swagnificent," and I lost my mind because I was like, "Oh, I know this guy." But yeah, I guess Adam Rose was Adam Rose. He didn't have any ring gear. He had these pants that he got, he said, from Walmart. And he came out with like a T-shirt and a hat on. And the rosebuds were people, which this is kind of cool. The rosebuds were people from the audience that they had signed up prior. My cousin had said that he had thought about doing it, but didn't. And I don't know if I could have done it, but it was fun to see the rosebuds. And he did have a bunch of lollipops and did a spot where he had the lollipop in, and he shoved the lollipop in Mr. Swagnificent's mouth, and then gave him a chop, and he spit the head fling back, and the lollipop spit out. So, all in all, it was a fun night. I didn't go expecting Tokyo Dome, New Japan type of stuff. I just went in to be entertained, and I was entertained. And I got to meet Sabu, get an autograph, and shake his hand, which was really cool.
Very cool. So if your job is to be a wrestler, like you shouldn't be showing off that you're maybe not happy to be there. The weather did suck this week, so I wonder if that plays an issue or a part in it. But also, you have to wonder with the promoter. There's always like shady wrestling promoters, so you wonder if that had something to do with it. Like maybe they thought there would be a bigger house. Maybe they thought that they would be paid more or something like that. Do you think that's a possibility when it comes to what you saw in the wrestlers and maybe them not being so happy to be there?
Possibly. There were some things said by, I don't want to say the wrestlers' names because, whatever, I'll say it. There were some things said.
Let's do this. Come on.
There were some things said at the autograph table by Godfather that would make me think that, he wasn't exactly the most thrilled.
Such as what?
Just about money and how he, just talking about with the pay, how he got paid. I don't remember the exact words. Something to the extent of, we were asking about, because our tickets, we got the Hall of Fame package, which included the autographs. So we were asking about like and he's like, oh, just talk to her because I don't get any money. They all do something. I forget the words he used.
But he was trying to pass the bucket and make it seem like maybe he wasn't getting a cut out of the Hall of Fame pass.
That's what it sounded like. But at the same time, it was really busy and there were a lot of people around, so I kind of only caught it because it was next to me when my cousin was talking to him. So that might be the case. But like I said, at least Godfather, when he got into the ring, you couldn't tell that was the case because he was the Godfather, and it was a great Godfather promo. Whereas if there was, with Animal, it was different.
Very interesting. Well, cool to see that. I mean, all of us have seen different wrestling promotions throughout the year outside of WWE. You probably saw more WWE than any of us. I think you went to Milwaukee a couple times, including a pay-per-view leading up to Mania. We all saw Brew City. Then you've got, of course, what was the promotion called for Wednesday? Powerhouse Wrestling. Okay. Yes. And that included some of the people from Brew City, as we said, who we got to see back at Summerfest in July. I got to see Rocky Mountain Pro in Denver. So we kind of all have, got to see quite a bit of wrestling this year, and not just WWE wrestling. So I think that's pretty cool and pretty important. And you've also been to a number of Ring of Honor shows.
Yes. But that's been a couple years since I've gone there. Yeah. I was, as you were listing all that stuff, I was just thinking to myself, man, it's been a while since I've gone to Turner Hall and watched Ring of Honor. But yeah, that's always a good time.
Then which kind of goes back to a year. If you're thinking about, this is our last show of 2017. If you remember our first show of 2017, you kind of had a New Year's resolution for wrestling fans, but also, even on a smaller scale, us for wrestling, and not just being, feeding into the WWE machine, but going to see other companies, local stuff, and kind of getting more, broadening your horizons, if you will, in the wrestling landscape. And I would say it was quite a bit of a success. I think we can do even more in 2018.
Absolutely. And just the fact that like you said, we all have gone to, different promotions outside of WWE, like smaller promotions, not just Ring of Honor, which is, still on a national scale, but we've all gone and seen more local independent wrestling. And I think that's an awesome thing. And I would like to do it definitely more coming into 2018.
So I would say, that your resolution was a success, and we can push it even further in 2018, and we'll get into that more at the end of the show. But and of course next week as well. Let's turn our attention to stuff that happened in WWE this week. Back to The Machine and Monday Night Raw. We Raw? Oh, God. All right, so Raw opens up. We, of course, see Frank the Idiot Clown, and my favorite fan, maybe of the month, the Beekeeper, who was wearing a beekeeper suit and had a sign that just said bees. And I wasn't sure. I thought maybe he added to the sign or whatever, or maybe my eyes had mistaken me, but we went on Reddit before the show, and someone had posted the same thing. What's up with the guy in the beekeeper suit that just says bees? So that was pretty good. So after that, we found out that Raw would be no commercials for the first hour on Raw and SmackDown. And so that was pretty cool. I appreciate USA, the channel, doing that for us. And I don't know, to me, it's easier to follow along when they don't do commercials. I'm not likely to skip forward something, because if I'm already fast forwarding and then it's maybe a couple wrestlers I don't care as much as about, whatever, I'm gonna just keep fast forwarding. But depending, with 5 hours of wrestling a week at least between Raw and SmackDown, there's just so much. But John Cena returns, first hour, no commercials, so you knew that match was not going to have the cut-ins that we're used to. So I think that also helped the match. That was a really good match between Cena's return with Elias, and a fun segment too, I thought.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm trying to look and find it right now. They ended up singing, John and Elias ended up singing a song together, and Elias just decks John Cena in the middle of him singing and says that it's not his place to sing. It's Elias's place to sing. And then the match starts. The ref comes out and they have a match. And like you said, it was a good match. Like I was impressed. I obviously expected John Cena to hold up his end of the match, but Elias, he kept up with John Cena, and week in and week out, in my opinion, his stock keeps rising. I'm more and more impressed with Elias every week.
I was just about to say, Elias is one of those guys that I did not like when he first came to the main roster, and has steadily grown on me, and now I am a huge fan, and I'm definitely walking with Elias. He's the man. He's fun. I love his gimmick. Didn't at first. The bad singing is awesome, and I'm a huge fan, and his match with Cena was just another notch in the belt, in my opinion. I would like to see him continue to slowly rise in the ranks and eventually get a shot at the IC title down the line and see what happens from there. But yeah, I'm liking Elias.
Yeah, I think his stock is certainly trending upwards, and we'll get more into Elias in the coming weeks. But I think that IC title, and maybe even further, is a potential ceiling for him, that he can maybe go as far as he possibly can. So we'll have to find out about that. Paige had a big injury that happened at a house show. Yeah. Too. So can you describe the injury for us and the situation?
Yeah, Paige was in a match. I think it was a tag match. It was Sasha Banks who delivered the kick. Sasha was sitting on the top turnbuckle. Paige's back was to her. Paige was talking to the crowd, and Sasha kicked her in the back. Paige kind of like whiplashed, fell to the canvas. She tried to get up. I can't really explain it without doing the visuals with my arms. That's how weird it was, but her arms kept flopping. She tried to get up. She was like stumbling on her knees. She tried to reach towards her opponent, it looked like, and then just kind of fell flat on her face and rolled over. The ref came down for like a second, immediately stood up and put the X sign up. A stretcher was brought out. I couldn't tell. It was hard to see because it was a house show, a live event as they're called now, and it was fan cell phone footage from up in the arena. And it was hard to see. I guess she didn't, according to Chandler, she didn't actually get on the stretcher. She walked out on her own power. But it was a scary looking injury. There hasn't been any word whether it was a neck or whiplash or back. I know she has, I think it's scoliosis or something to that extent. She has some kind of back issues to begin with. And it's worrying for me because it's right before the Women's Rumble. And Paige is one of my favorite competitors, my favorite superstars, not just female, male or female, and I was super happy that she's back. So I'm really hoping that she's okay and she can recover in time for the Rumble. But it looked scary, and I'm those neck injuries, neck, head, back kind of things are things you don't want to mess around with. So
they can be career ending, and it's
positive energy to her, hoping it's not serious and she can recover before the Rumble. But if not, hope she can recover, to be back in the ring soon.
I think we're all wishing for the best for Paige, and my biggest hope is that even if she is hurt, that she is able to maintain an on-screen role, sort of in the manager role, with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Mandy Rose, oh my God, she's such a fox. Mm-hmm. I'm all in on that. Roll Tide, and I don't know, she's like the Trish Stratus of. In some ways, that's who she reminds me of, because she's really smart in some of the things that she does, and you wouldn't think she's sort of been kept like away from the eye. Like, she's been in NXT, but only had a few things here and there. It was never very consistent.
She was mostly working house shows while she was in NXT. She was maybe on TV like twice.
Right, and then the Total Divas thing that I don't think she is a part of anymore. She also was on Tough Enough. So it's kind of her career has taken a weird path to get where she is now, but she does things where, like, I don't know, just the hair flip or just little things that that she knows what she's doing, and she does a great job at.
Even on their entrance, I noticed that this past week on Monday, Sonya Deville's in the ring throwing punches, doing her like MMA warm up. Paige is, screaming and doing her thing, but then Mandy Rose is just on the apron, just being a fox, and then she gets up and sits in the corner. She gets up onto the top rope, and she's still just she's kind of just whipping her hair, and she's just being a fox, and it's exactly what she said. She does these little things that if you don't pay close enough attention, you might miss, but if you are paying attention, it adds up.
Andre, is she the Wendy Peppercorn of the WWE?
I don't know who that is, so.
Sandlot.
Oh my gosh.
You do know who that is.
Now I do. Yeah, she might be. That's very clever, Frony. I'll give you props for that.
Thanks.
I was going to ask you guys something. I can't remember. Okay, now I remember. A few weeks ago when Absolution debuted, before they had their name, we had talked about the two female factions on the dueling brands and which one we preferred, and I think all three of us had said it was Riot Squad. Has that changed over the past few weeks? For me, it kind of has. I really like I like Riot Squad too, but Absolution has done a lot to win me over in these past couple weeks.
I think it kind of has swayed for me over the past couple of weeks.
I think that the Absolution they have much more experience, which works to their advantage. Whether it be Sonya Deville's, both girls are tough enough, and that makes sense with Paige, who was kind of one of the judges. But also Sonya Deville has the MMA background, so I think that just overall experience between that group compared to the Riot Squad is, far and away better, or a bigger advantage for Absolution compared to Riot Squad. So right now, yeah, I think I would have gone with Riot Squad when it first happened. And I'm not saying anything against Riot Squad, but this seems to make more sense in that each girl plays their own role within their character, but collectively as a group, that it makes sense. So there's so many things that work in their favor: experience and just psychology. In my perspective, that brings it all together. So I would go with Absolution right now, and it's not quite as clunky as when it first came out, and it's like, okay, they're doing the same thing. It is. They are still very similar, but now with the Paige injury, it really changes everything. We'll have to see how things shake out. Speaking of injuries, we found out that Dean Ambrose is done for 9+ months. He's going to have surgery on elbow or tricep. So
tricep meat.
And you remember a few years ago when John Cena had that softball in his tricep where it just slid all the way down to his elbow, and he still wrestled with that thing. Oh, man. Just grotesque. So Ambrose, done for quite a long time now. What does this mean for the Shield? To me, there was a moment where on Raw where you had the Rollins and Jordan angle, and we're going to get to that more in a little bit, and Rollins and Jordan are talking to Kurt Angle. They both want a shot at Samoa Joe, blase blah. They both walk off camera after they finally get their tag team title shot. Rollins and Jordan walk off screen. Then Roman Reigns immediately, has the attention turned towards him. But Rollins and Reigns were never on the screen at the same time. So is this sort of to make us forget? And I'm going to throw the Rollins Jordan thing, who are now tag team champs. More, like I said, more on that in a moment. But are they just trying to get us to forget this iteration of the Shield?
I don't know if that's the case. You explain it like that, and when I watched it, I didn't feel that way. But hearing you say that, it could be a thing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't quite know if that's the case. Just because they just got back together, and yes, Dean Ambrose is going to be out for up to 9 months now, but yeah, I'm just sitting here. I'm trying to think of it as I'm speaking, so that's why I'm taking these pauses. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more that does make more sense. That does make sense just because of how long he's going to be gone, and the fact that Reigns is the IC champ. He's the Intercontinental Champion. That's a singles title. And now Rollins is a tag team champion with someone else besides Roman Reigns, who isn't in the Shield. So I guess this could be looked at as them trying to just pull the veil over our eyes as they do all the time in the WWE and try to make us forget that, you know, they were going in one direction, but now they kind of have to go in a completely different direction.
Like, no official ending. It's really just, hey, there's different directions now, and that's how it's going to be, because it was a matter of a half a second where Rollins goes off and then it's Reigns. There was no mention, not even a look, or maybe if they give each other a fist bump, or I don't know, something that to kind of bring it all together, but there really was nothing. So
yeah, that's definitely the vibe I got. When I saw Raw, it was, okay, they're done with the Shield. They're just going to drop it. Something similar kind of happened in 2007-ish, the lead up to WrestleMania 23, where DX were back together, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. Triple H ruptured his quadriceps tendon, was out for several months. Shawn Michaels still wrestled with the DX music, but after a little while, they just kind of phased it out, and they didn't mention it. They just kind of dropped it. And then when Triple H came back, there was really no mention of it again for another 3 years. They'd have their one-off things on the special Raws where they'd, for one night only, DX. But I kind of get the same vibe. Maybe this is going to be different. Maybe when Dean comes back, they'll redo the Shield. But who knows what things are going to look like in that time. If it is a full 9 months or if it's closer to 6 months. Because I had heard it was 6 to 9 months.
So yeah, nine is the top end.
So you never know with those kind of things. But either way, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, still a long time. The landscape could change a lot. But I definitely think that they're done with the Shield for this point in time. Jason Jordan and Rollins are going to be together forever long to further the Jordan angle. And and then Roman's going to go on to destroy everybody, beat Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Samoa Joe, all in one match with his hand tied behind his back at WrestleMania with the 1 foot cover with a Superman punch. So they're done. They're done with the Shield.
See, when Michael Cole says Ambrose will be done for upwards of 9 months, to me that means a minimum of 9. But I don't know. I could be wrong. And we've talked about before, Ambrose and Reigns, to somewhat of a lesser extent than Ambrose, has kind of been the Iron Man of WWE the last 4 or 5 years. There really hasn't been many big injuries or anything that cost him longer than a month. Or with Reigns, there's been a couple injuries that have kept him out, and then also a very quick suspension between Battleground and SummerSlam back in the summer of 2016. But this is really the first time, and Ambrose kind of carried the ball for a while when they were bouncing around, when the roster really was devastated with injuries, and then sure enough, he goes down for a long time. And I hate to say that it was only a matter of time, but it was only a matter of time.
There was a point where he had wrestled more matches than anyone in WWE at the time for, I think it was 2015, 2016, something like that.
It was up until he got injured, and now currently Jimmy Uso is the WWE Iron Man.
Wow.
With I'm trying to see the numbers here. He's at 982 matches with only missing 15 to 24 days gaps. No more than a 34-day gap. And that 34-day gap was in 2016. And Dean Ambrose was the previous title holder before that.
And wasn't that gap because his brother got hurt, and so they
kept him off? Yeah.
So it wasn't.
And Uday called them the Usos.
Yeah. Yes.
I love that. Okay, so how will this iteration of the Shield be remembered? Is it going to be the Shield the wheels never really got on this one. I mean, the car was put together, but there was this last piece that they never quite got going. You know, when they had their big match at, was it TLC? There was too much issues with meningitis and throwing Angle in there, so there was really only 1 or 2 actual matches with the Shield versus 3 competitors.
Unfortunately, I think when we look back in a year and a half, 2 years from now, I think that it's going to be looked at as a botch. They kind of, and it's through no fault of anyone's really, because as you said, the meningitis thing. Now we have Dean Ambrose out for an extended period of time, and the fact that they only had maybe 3 matches together. Actually, all 3 of them together, right. 2 or 3 matches. It's unfortunately. We're going to look back and it's going to have the feeling of, well, they didn't really, as you said, the car was put together, but there was something missing. Yep. Something didn't fully get there on this go round.
So there was one, I believe, correct me if I'm mistaken, but they faced the New Day at Survivor Series. which maybe underachieved, but that's because the buildup was so much, or at least in fans' excitement. It still was a really good excitement, or it was a good match, but I guess because I'm like, the Shield versus the New Day, this is the best combination of the last 5 years of trios, if you will, for WWE. But then they faced maybe Samoa Joe in the bar at a main event at a Raw, and other than that, I can't really mention more than those are the only 2 matches that I can really recall. And I mean, just the injuries and up and down. That's just all That's all we've been able to get. So I think this iteration of the Shield will be remembered for the T-shirt. It was a pretty cool T-shirt with each of their singles logo on the hands. But man, this will be not remembered fondly or at all. It'll be like, hey, remember when the Shield got back together? And I don't know, when Ambrose comes back, I don't know what you do. I think you almost maybe bring him back, turn him heel against Reigns or Rollins would be cool. Or I don't know if you try the Shield again. Who knows? We'll have to see about that. But it's going to be quite a long time before we get that going. I think The Miz is going to come back to the Royal Rumble. The Miz Taraj singing their Christmas carols was really good, and the crowd even usually. I don't know, they sounded actually good for a couple of them, and when it sounded bad, it seemed like it was supposed to, but the crowd in Chicago loved it. I enjoyed this, but one of the lyrics in their Christmas carols that they were changing the lyrics to, they talked about how The Miz is going to be coming back soon. To me, this screams Royal Rumble return. Is that the best case scenario?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's definitely room to bring him back earlier than that, but with the year that he had, that the Miz had, which also I would like to mention, Rolling Stone named him as the Wrestler of the Year, which is a huge accomplishment. And he also tweeted out and went on Facebook and had this whole this kind of response to it, which was really good. If you get a chance to look that up, he's basically saying you don't become Wrestler of the Year by wearing your own merchandise or wearing a cool leather jacket. You become the Wrestler of the Year by going out and overperforming every single night. Which, this 2017, all of 2017, he's been at the top of his game. So that was really cool to see, but and that's why I think there's room to bring him back before the Royal Rumble, just because I would like to see him come back because he's had such a great year and he's done such a good job lately. But I mean, having him come back as as a random surprise entrant in the Rumble, he would get a good pop and it would make sense.
Is that a good spot for him? Does it make the most sense to get that Philly pop with the Miz returning to the Rumble?
Yeah, absolutely. Unless he wants to return sooner, in which case there's no reason
Raw can use those promos. Yeah, hell yeah.
He's had a great year. I wouldn't say he's the Wrestler of the Year. I would have given it to Braun or AJ.
And Braun did get runner-up.
Yeah, I did see that. But yeah, if he wants to return before a Rumble, if they want him to return before a Rumble, nothing wrong with that. But at the Rumble too would be a great pop, a great surprise.
And maybe he comes back to go against Reigns at the Rumble also to reclaim his IC title, because you're going to want Reigns to start pumping towards seemingly Lesnar at Mania for the Universal title. So this would kind of be a spot that makes sense for Miz to take his title back, and then maybe you throw that Elias program in.
Well, I want to correct one thing you said. You said you want. No, we don't want that. We know that's going to happen, but we don't want that. I don't want that.
Did I say we? Well, I mean, if you're the machine, that's what that's what they want. That's what they're pushing towards. They want to. Yes. I imagine.
I'd love for him to keep it up.
I imagine they want to get the IC title off of Reigns, so that way they're gonna, the Lesnar program is for the Universal title in the main event at WrestleMania. Rollins and Jordan are your new tag team champions. Part of me thinks that this is to make us forget about the Shield a little bit. I'll talk about this now. It's kind of a weird week for WWE to further or enhance a storyline, but at the same time, maybe this is one of the weird instances where they did, and then we'll talk about NXT a little bit. But is this just to make us forget about the Shield a little bit more, or what do you think the purpose is of this?
I think it's two parts. One is to throw us off the scent of the Shield, and two is to build Jason Jordan and to try to get the crowd behind him, because even in Chicago, when he came out for that match, yes, the crowd went nuts when they won the titles, but when Jason Jordan came out and made his entrance in his hometown of Chicago, he got booed out of the building. So I think just as much as this is to make us forget about the Shield, it's also to try and get Jason Jordan over a little bit more.
I was ready for that guy with the broom at the Apollo to just come in.
Seriously, the Sandman? Like, come on.
I agree with Chandler. It's to throw us off, as he said, the scent of the Shield, throw the dogs off the scent of the hounds, and to further the Jordan storyline. I would hope at some point down the line, maybe even before WrestleMania, Jordan turns heel on Rollins. I think that's a great way to turn him heel because he's already got heat. Maybe this pairing with Rollins will cool down some of that heat and allow him to get a little bit more over. But if not, there's always that in their back pocket. And I still think that they're going to turn him heel, just the way that he's been booked the past few weeks. He's been
absolutely
kind of heelish, and I like it. I really like it. I didn't like the way the storyline was going at first, but I like it now. I definitely think we're going to have a good payoff to the Jordan angle, as I like to call it, the father-son thing. I don't think that's going to go
Jordan angle Jordan. It's a freaking law firm, man. It's a freaking law firm. Goodness. Okay, well let's put our attention to SmackDown. U.S. title tournament. You guys think a new belt is imminent here? We didn't get Dolph Ziggler. I think once again this goes to the you don't want to advance too many storylines on a week that it's really hard to. Next week might be similar with New Year's. We'll have to find out. I don't see that happening right away. I think they're going to give a little bit more breathing room for Ziggler. However, before we get to the U.S. title, how about this? You, instead of doing the Ziggler thing when you did it, you move it back a little bit. So that way, because think about this, what Ziggler was doing with using other people's entrances and then coming out, what would have made him a bigger heel, and in what city, if he had come out to CM Punk's music and you know what I'm saying, and cut it like that? The crowd pop that they would have had. I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about just the color. Living Color thing. I was going to say Color Me Bad. I know that's not at home. We don't play that. Living Color. So I was like, gosh, if they played Punk's music right now, and then wait till he walked out, but then Ziggler walks out, it would have been the biggest boo that Ziggler would have got throughout that time, and maybe throughout his damn career. How cool would that have been? That
would have worked out a lot better than the stuff that they did do. I don't know, especially they kind of drug it out a week or two longer than they should have. Yeah. So maybe, like you said, them pushing the time frame of them doing that back so that could have happened. That would have been fantastic.
Can you imagine Ziggler doing that in Chicago and then dropping the belt too? Like that would have been such a memorable heat moment. Oh my God. Not the way things worked out, whatever. That was, of course, fantasy booking, but I was thinking that as I was watching, like, how crazy would the crowd go if Punk's music hit, and then how hard and fast would they turn once they see it's Ziggler? Oh, my God. I thought that would have been
a pop that the crowd would have made when the music hit would have been astronomical.
Maybe bigger than Mania Hardy's return. That, just out of this world. But anyway, we didn't get anything advancement with Ziggler as to why. I think we'll get that over the next couple weeks. But a U.S. title tournament, which I love tournaments. I'm a tournament guy for sure. I hope this means a new belt also, but the way that the tournament is being put where like the logo of the current belt and the belt on the side, that's not likely to happen, unfortunately.
The first two matches, they had the current belt ringside.
Yes, and Corbin was kind of directing things toward it and whatnot. How do you guys feel about the U.S. title tournament, and who's your pick to win it?
I am all about the U.S. title tournament. Just like you, I'm a huge fan of tournaments in wrestling, and it's something that I think we all agree is underutilized in this day and age of professional or of WWE. I shouldn't say professional wrestling because there are tournaments all the time outside of WWE. WWE doesn't do enough of them. So I'm definitely all about this. And if I have to pick someone, I'm going to go #Woods US champ, #Woods US champ, #Woods US champ.
Andre, what do you got?
Yes, I love tournaments as well. And up until a couple days ago, I wanted Jinder all the way until, as Chandler pointed out, Xavier Woods and the New Day got on social media and campaigned and won me over. I am also on the #Woods US champ train. And Woods would be a great champ, but if not, Jinder versus Bobby Roode in the championship match with Jinder going over would be my second pick for what to happen because, as you all know, I'm a huge Jinder fan, and anytime you can put a title belt on him of any kind, I'll be happy with that.
Let's talk about Jinder a little bit then. So this is somewhat of a demotion. I mean, if you had your two cornerstones, they were the guys who were in the main event on Tuesday night, right? It's AJ Styles and it's Kevin Owens. And then Raw, it gets a little bit harder. They want it to be Reigns. People would say otherwise. There's more, Strowman's got to be in that conversation. Lesnar's there, but he's not. But it very much is clear that Kevin Owens and AJ Styles are the two big names. They're your cornerstones, top face and top heel of SmackDown. I think that's kind of the way it's been. Jinder did a great job carrying the torch when he needed to. I like this spot better for him, personally. I think that a U.S. title on a guy who talks trash about the U.S. is really cool, and I think that will help further develop his character and storyline. And I think this is a good spot for him. Even when he was the champ, this is kind of what I wanted for him. So I'm cool with Jinder if he wins it. I think that's good for him. But I got to go with Xavier Woods, because I just think that it goes along with what we've been saying the last few months about how keep the New Day together, but have them still have solo stuff, and do more of the manager kind of angles. I think that'd be great if Woods, and he totally deserves it, man. I think that'd be great. But Jinder, I think this is the best spot for him. I think that's a great way to make him the U.S. champ who hates the U.S. To me, this is perfect.
He doesn't hate the U.S. The U.S. hates him, because the U.S. fan just doesn't get it. The xenophobic fans don't respect greatness when they see it. So, is it a better spot for him? No, he should be world champ and universal champ at the same time. But this is a really good spot.
Oh my God.
This is a really good spot for him on the card right now. And eventually I want to see him going back to the main event scene, but I'm one of the few hardcore Jinder fans. For some reason people aren't behind him the way I am. But yeah, I like this spot. I'd love to see him with the title, but as we were all talking, Woods, the matches that the U.S. title matches would be so fun with Woods coming to the ring with Kofi and Big E behind him and getting involved in the matches and the ringside shenanigans and stuff. It would be so fun. Yeah, I'm really liking the U.S. title scene right now. I think Ziggler dropping it was the best thing that could happen, because tournaments and Jinder and Xavier Woods and Bobby Roode, awesome.
I think that before Jinder won the WWE Championship, I absolutely would have said that this is where he should be. After him winning it and after him carrying the torch as and doing such a good job that he did, my opinion might have swayed a little bit. I still think that at the end of the day, though, I think this is where he should be personally. I think he should be in the U.S. title picture. But at the same time, he's proven that he can be the main guy, and he can hold the WWE Championship and be the main heel and put on solid matches. So either way, I think I'm gonna go along with what Andre said. If you put a belt on Jinder, I'm okay with it. He's proven himself to me.
Yeah, I like the Singh brothers back with him. I do like the U.S. title spot for him right now. He's overachieved in one of the best ways possible. And a year ago, to even think that he'd be in a tournament for the U.S. title, I mean, it baffles me if you think about it. And for the Schmozzies coming up in a couple weeks, it's hard not to put Jinder as one of the nominees, at least, for Comeback Wrestler of the Year or Most Improved, right? I mean, he's got to be right up there in both of those conversations.
Oh, absolutely. For sure.
Speaking of other people overachieving, we had the tag team triple threat match. I do want to talk more about the New Days and the single titles later, because I think that Woods would be a huge addition to 205 Live, and I think he could help save that. And Chad Gable's another one of those guys, and he was involved in this tag team triple threat match. But speaking of overachieving, Aiden English, 2 weeks ago, I said that he's hit his ceiling, and the last 2 weeks he's gone even above that, so I got to give him a lot of credit. He's getting face pops. So we talked about Jordan and Rollins, and it's so much the issue where when Rollins is in, he'll get cheered, but if Jordan is in, they don't want him to get the pin to win. It's just that weird dichotomy. But when Aiden English was in the match, they were cheering for him to get the pinfall or to get the victory over either of the other two teams. So that says a lot, because very much fans will still just root for their guy, their dog in the fight, even if there's another dog on their team. So it was very weird to see, but Chicago was all in on Aiden English. And Rusev Day might be one of the most, or is it the most over thing right now?
In the WWE, I think Rusev Day is absolutely the most over thing, and that's coming from me being a diehard New Day fan, and it's kind of funny because they both have Day in them. But Rusev Day is absolutely the most over thing going on WWE television, and because of that, Aiden English is getting, like you said, Aiden English is getting face pops now, and everyone he's over. He's got a following now. He's got fans now because of Rusev Day.
Yeah, English has been, as Bruce Pritchard like to say, been sprinkled with that Rusev Day dust, and has really been getting the pops, like you say. I didn't like him at all. Now I'm starting to enjoy him with Rusev. I don't know if I'll continue to cheer for him if he's moved away from Rusev, because I'm just all about Rusev. Rusev Day, Rusev on Twitter and Instagram, Rusev on Ride Along, Rusev in the ring, Rusev backstage. Rusev is the man, and he's climbing the ladder as far as my favorite wrestlers in the world today, and he's getting up there to Jinder, AJ, Marty Scurll status as far as people that I really like as singles wrestlers, of course. And Rusev Day is the best thing in WWE, aside from Woken Matt Hardy, of course. And he is over like none other. The crowd chanting Rusev Day is one of my favorite things. Rusev, as we talked about before the show and on the air, the three of us, Rusev's showing his personality. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Rusev's someone that needs a title sometime. Doesn't need a title. That deserves a title sometime soon. And I'd like to see him do more in the future. The Rusev Day tag team thing is fun, but I want to see him climb up the ladder and get some bigger wins and get put in bigger spots and become a main event star, because he has all the talent and the charisma to be a top babyface star for years to come.
Shane McMahon would accidentally cost AJ a win against Kevin Owens. He wanted to remove Sami Zayn from being ringside. This was a good way to advance this storyline on a week that, like I said, is tough to do. They did a great job of keeping the ball rolling, keeping things interesting, doing things different, and having Shane cost AJ a win, who was actually his opponent earlier this year at WrestleMania. So good stuff happening there. Like to see the lead up to Royal Rumble. They're doing a great job with the main event scene on SmackDown, and keep it rolling. You've got the two guys, to me, in the right spots, with Owens being your top bad guy and AJ being your top face. So now it's on to NXT. Your guys' thoughts on the Street Profits real quick here.
They, week after week, continue to entertain me more and more and more. I wasn't really sure the first 2 weeks that I saw them. I was like, okay, these guys are doing a little bit too much. But that's just kind of their gimmick, and they're so much fun to watch, and they're undefeated, which is cool too. So I'm all about the Street Profits.
Same here. I've been all about the Street Profits since they debuted. As you guys both know me, as Chandler said, they're really over the top, but I love that stuff with the broken mat, with the being the elite Young Buck stuff. That's right up my alley. Street Profits are awesome. I didn't see this week, obviously, since I was at the wrestling show at Turner, but I'm assuming they were great. I love Street Profits. Huge fans. I want to see them do big things.
Still not sure what's in that cup, though. The Street Profits took on, I don't know, two random fellas, and Nigel McGuinness, who was sitting right next to Mauro Ranallo, kept referring to one of the Street Profits' opponents as young JBL. And I mean, rightfully so. But he's sitting right next to Mauro Ranallo, who was the reason that there was someone, hazing issues and bullying and whatnot between Mauro and JBL, so it was very weird. But he called him JBL 3 times. It was a young JBL, and it was NWO JBL because he was wearing the all-black trunks. It was very much like the Blackjack version. Blackjack, whatever. I
almost said Mulligan, but that's a different...
it's his tag team partner, or the whatever it is. But called him that 3 times altogether. Not Mauro Ranallo did not say any of the 3 times, but it was like at home, if you knew, it was kind of uncomfortable. Authors of Pain, who are physically unable to read their own names labeled on their military style gear. There was way too much heavy breathing in that promo. I'm going to play just a clip for our fans here.
They were undefeated. They became NXT Tag Team Champions. Winners of the Dusty Rhodes Classic. And along comes War Games. And another team
Listen to that.
thinks that they have the pen of creativity.
Okay, I'm going to go forward a little bit here.
Next chapter shall be written by the authors of campaign, and it starts like this. This is our house. We are the law. We are the judge, the jury.
Okay, all right, that's enough. Thanks a lot, Paul. Lots of heavy breathing going on, way too much for my liking. Johnny Wrestling is our new #1 contender. He took down Killian Dane, Lars Sullivan, and Aleister Black. Interesting that Lars Sullivan and Aleister Black were both undefeated. Aleister Black took the pinfall here. There was kind of a run-in with the Undisputed Era, likely going to set us up for a NXT TakeOver Philadelphia with Black and Adam Cole. 2 thumbs up to that. Very excited about that. Johnny Wrestling, #1 contender. That's great, too. You get to see another match with him and Andrade Cien Almas, which was one of my favorite NXT matches of the year when What's-Her-Face threw him the DIY shirt. It was the first TakeOver after the breakup, so it had to have been June or July. Yeah. And it was a spectacular moment. One of my favorite matches of the year, especially when it comes to NXT. It would be in my top 3 probably. So we're gonna get to see that one, but now in the main event likely and for the title. So that's super exciting and a great match. That was the match of the week, I would say. I think you're in agreement with that.
Hands down, that match was fantastic, and the finish to it with Johnny Wrestling doing the slingshot DDT onto Aleister Black after the Undisputed Era came out and pretty much distracted him, hitting the slingshot DDT, getting the pinfall victory. It was a huge moment.
And so we got just a couple minutes left on the show. We'll get to our ballot information about the Schmozzies later. Maybe we'll tweet out or put on some ideas for Facebook. But if you have an idea for what you want to see on the Schmozzies for, a category or someone who you think should be nominated and for what, please let us know. You can tweet the show. You can send us a Facebook message, Instagram, the whole thing.
Yep. You can find us on all 3 of those platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Schmozcast.
All right, folks, we're to end the show today, before we give you our tweets of the week, we're going to play a promo from Zach Gibson cutting a promo on internet wrestling fans. So stick around for this. We're going to give you our tweets of the week right after this.
I'm looking around the room and I'm seeing a lot of Bullet Club tops. A lot of Bullet Club tops from a room full of people who are absolutely blagging that they watch New Japan. Absolutely blagging that you subscribe to New Japan. Look at this div. Look at this div. There are only 2 subscriptions on your bank statement. The WWE Network and Pornhub Premium.
How does he know about your internet history?
Don't clap. Don't patronize me. Listen, just because after every match you send your 5-star rating to Big Dave, it does not make you smart. Just because when this div here is doing his intros, you shout 1 fall. It does not make you smart. What it makes you is a large collection of absolute bellends. No. Don't chant that. You are the problem with wrestling. You are the ones pushing this great industry further into a niche market. And I, Liverpool's #1, Zach Gibson, I am the one who's going to take it back to the mainstream where we belong.
There you have it, Zach Gibson's promo there. Before we do tweets of the week, we have some interesting stuff. You guys both had birthdays this week. Chandler turned 30. You became an uncle 2 times over the last couple weeks. Mm-hmm. Friend of the show and big contributor who does our logo, has been on the show many times. Zach Wagner and his wife Amanda Wagner had Milo David, baby, just within 40 minutes of midnight on Christmas Day. So lots of cool stuff. But that ends the show. Before that, we're going to do our tweet of the week. And Chandler, what do you got for us?
All right, so as we mentioned earlier, Shane McMahon pretty much cost AJ Styles in his match, and Kevin Owens got the win. And after the win, Kevin Owens tweeted out, "I am #better than phenomenal. I am Kevin Owens, and I am your uncrowned WWE champion. #yep," over and over about 20 times.
And Andre, your tweet of the week.
My tweet of the week, is from Kayfabe Soup, and it was simply, Rusev wasn't born on Christmas. Jesus was born on Rusev Day.